Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Rebel Show, or show where we rebel against unrighteousness. A good news show, since most of the mainstream media is negative news, fake news, or bad news. We're trying to give you a positive spin on bad news or just good news overall. So, we have some interesting things that have been happening lately in the world, and I just wanted to skim over the top of some of this stuff. Um, there's good things happening in the country. There's good things happening all over the place. Righteousness is winning. We may not see it yet too much. I think if you look for it, you begin to start seeing it, but it's out there. So one thing I wanted to go over, there's a comedian, George Lopez, and he was doing a comedy show in Denver, and he was doing like an anti-Trump routine, and some people asked him to stop, and he didn't, and he got booed so much, he just basically didn't come back on. He walked off stage and didn't come back on. And whether you like George Lopez or not, I think it's cool that people are starting to stand up for things they don't like. We need to stand up for things we don't like. We need to have our voice heard and let people know, hey, you know what? We are tired of this mainstream propaganda. We are tired of how society just kind of walks all over things it doesn't agree with, especially on the left. And, we can stand up and be something. So, if there's a comedian out there whose jokes aren't popular to you, it's cool to let him know, and maybe he'll change his tune or just pansy out and walk off stage. So that was kind of a fun little thing. NFL revenue is down with their ticket sales down, jersey sales significantly, revenue significantly down because of this kneeling thing. And the players claim that they're not kneeling to disrespect the flag, but they're not taking into consideration what people think of that action. And it's being the fans are very clear with what's going on. The fans are not going to the stadiums. There was several stadiums last week that it was empty. I mean, it was way empty compared to what they normally sold out games were like half full. It's amazing. So people are standing up, and they're showing that, yeah, we really are patriotic and really do want to honor the military at this time. And I think everybody needs to be a part of it. And so it's cool to see these things. So, the NFL has a policy to where players have to conduct themselves in such a way. Remember a few years ago, Tim Tebow, he would kneel after and pray after a touchdown, and that was considered distracting. And now we're watching players all over the league kneel, and oh, that's okay. They have a right. It's their right. Well, I think they need to honor the flag, and they need to honor the people who have given them the right to make millions and play football. So my thoughts are, we're starting to see Americans stand up for things they're tired of and they don't want. And you're starting to see around the country other types of backlash. Like there's a lot of junk going on in Hollywood with some pervs out there that have for years have hurt some people pretty badly, and now that's starting to come out, and Hollywood's kind of collapsing. Movie sales are down. People aren't going to see these Hollywood movies anymore, and people are tired of junk. And you may wonder, how is this stuff I'm talking about good news? Because it really isn't. It's bad news. But at the same time, it is got a positive spin to it because evil is losing. Good is winning. And when good wins, the evil side tends to fall apart. They tend to freak out the most. If you're right about to drown, it's probably when you flail in the water the most. Well, that's what's happening. In Luke 8:17 it says, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." The truth will come out. When the light comes on, darkness is revealed, evil is revealed. And the good news of all this is that we're starting to see a change in the tides of how people respond. We're starting to see a change in the tide of how evil is being revealed. And when it's revealed, it can be dealt with. Well, if it's hidden from us or we're suppressed to where we can't handle it, I think that's a problem. So we are now getting into a place where we have a leader who's fighting for the Christians and our beliefs. And when he, like at the end of his speeches, I like to watch a lot of his speeches to get his opinion straight from him. After his speeches, he says, God bless the United States and God bless you. I believe when he prays that at the end of each of his speeches, he's literally opening the door for God to come back in. We had leadership before that was kind of closing the door and suppressing the Christian faith and suppressing the Christian opinion. And now we have a leader that's allowing it back in. And man, what a powerful thing. When God is let back in, guess what? The light comes on and darkness is revealed. And what happens when darkness is revealed? It goes crazy, and that's what we're seeing. So as bad as things look, it really is good. So, I heard an example once of if you have a glass of dirty water and you start to pour clean water into it, you know what you start to see is a bunch of dirty water overflowing everywhere for a period of time. But eventually, you get through the dirty water and it's clean water. So consider that, So Proverbs 16:6 says, by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. And by fear of the Lord, men depart from evil. As we get into a position where God is allowed back into the country and Christians start to stand up, I think we can push out the evil. I think we can overpower it, showing the love of God to people that are going through some hard times are going to need Christians to be available. They're going to need a strong church. They're going to need their neighbors to be someone who can stand with them through some of the terrible things they've gone through. And as righteousness comes in, their world is going to fall apart, and they need somebody available to help them. And that's got to be us. It has to be. We have to stand up and be available for when people think their world is crashing down, and we can show them, no, it's really not. There's a better way. God has great things for you. We can't just stand back and let them fall apart. And these people that are hopeless, they may turn to suicide, drugs, and alcohol. We can't allow that. We have got to be there and see when people are hurting and struggling and be available for them. And we approach them if necessary. God can give us wisdom on those things, But as for leadership, Proverbs 16:12 says, for the throne is established by righteousness. And I think with the leadership we have now, the president is meeting regularly with Christians for Bible studies. He has Christians advising him. He has Christian attorneys advising him. And he's establishing the presidency in righteousness right now. And man, what a time to be alive. It's really cool to see this change in society where we saw so much junk for so long, and now we're starting to see a twist back to good. And I'm having a lot of fun watching this. I hope other people are, because man, God's good, and if his people stand up and make a difference, we can take back this nation, and then we can take back other nations. And that's what Christ's after too, is the nations. He doesn't just want America or Israel. He wants all the nations to know him, because he created all of them. They're all his children. Every person is his child and our brother and sister in Christ. We just got to get them the knowledge, and we've got to get them into the kingdom, and we've got to disciple them to understand who they are in Christ and what God has for them. So I think there's a lot of bad news out there, but there's good things that you can take from bad news sometimes, because it may be bad, but there's a good spin on it. So, man, what a day. I just want to thank you guys for watching, and have a great afternoon.